We're jumping right into the explainer today because there's this invisible but absolutely fundamental shift happening all around us. We're talking about our changing relationship with water. For generations, we've relied on a super predictable water cycle to, build our economies and grow our food. But the data is pointing to a stark, completely unavoidable conclusion. We have to radically adapt. We aren't just facing less water, we're stepping into a totally new water reality.
Okay, let's dive into this. What if our entire system for surviving a drought is built on a climate that, well, simply no longer exists? Kinda unsettling, right? For the last century, we engineered massive dams and wrote policies by looking backward at historical baselines. But calculating our current risk based strictly on the past, that's just a recipe for structural failure now. We're stepping into completely unprecedented territory here.
To understand why this is happening, we have to grasp this one crucial term: hydroclimate whiplash. So as global temperatures warm up, the atmosphere starts acting like this giant, expanding sponge. It gets thirstier, and that raises the ceiling on both evaporation and precipitation intensity, meaning we get much more intense storms, but they happen way less frequently. And in between those storms, the atmosphere aggressively wrings that sponge out, causing these severe, rapid onset droughts. It literally changes the entire flavor of 21st century drought.
Now, the mismatch between the infrastructure we have and the climate we're actually experiencing is deadly. Our old reality systems were built on fixed baselines and deterministic rules. They were engineered for weather that mostly just stayed in the middle. But our new reality, it's defined by these cascading extremes. We're swinging violently from extreme drought to extreme flooding, and honestly, our legacy infrastructure simply wasn't designed to handle these dramatic, unprecedented swings.
And this is causing the quiet breakdown of our old logic. Droughts are no longer just these weird anomalies we have to endure until things go back to normal. No, they're our new permanent operating condition. When hydrology shifts this incredibly fast, clinging to static historical data doesn't just give us minor inefficiencies. Actually, scratch that. It leads to massive misallocations, delayed emergency responses, and completely exhausted reserves. Section 1. When the rules break. The illusion of control. Let's look at how this plays out in the real world.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how incredibly fast our engineered systems can fail. Take Taiwan's typhoon to drought cycle. First, the storm season ends. Under the old paradigms, managers falsely assume they've got a stable water buffer, right? But then comes the shift, rapid evaporation driven by that thirstier atmosphere we talked about. Finally, the real shocker, an entire network of interconnected reservoirs can completely collapse in just a few months. Nature is just moving way faster than our spreadsheets can keep up with.
So here's the thing. Predicting the weather is absolutely not the same as predicting the impacts. We're actually pretty good at predicting meteorological rain data. But drought? Drought is what scientists call a slow hazard with fast consequences. The true challenge is anticipating that cascading systemic domino effect across our soils, our crops, and even human health. We don't just need to know if it's going to rain, we need to know exactly how a lack of rain is going to break a complex societal system.
Section 2. The Smart Reboot. Anticipatory AI and Early Warnings.
Let's be clear. Agricultural drought isn't just about a lack of rain. It's this complex battle between the soil, the plant, and the sky. Farmers care about root zone moisture and very specific crop growth stages. To capture this, we're now deploying process-aware AI. This isn't just your basic algorithm. It integrates deep learning with actual physical constraints, using satellite observations to literally learn the complex physical relationships right there in the dirt. It can detect a sudden flash drought long before it destroys a harvest. A real game changer. We're seeing this anticipatory tech succeed right now in East Africa. Long before a season even begins, interoperable data detects climate anomalies like La Niña. Then, just before the drought hits, high-resolution forecasts are fed into advanced crop models to predict specific water deficits. And during the event, they're using entirely 3D-printed automatic weather stations to capture real-time extremes right on the ground. It's this incredible, phased intervention moving from coarse global predictions down to hyper-detailed, actionable alerts.
So the absolutely crucial point here brings us to a radical new strategy. We can't rely on known future inflows or historical guesses anymore. Instead, we can train AI on thousands of optimized scenarios so that our water infrastructure actually learns to approximate optimal decisions from observable real-time states alone. We are quite literally teaching our infrastructure to see a drought coming and adapt on the fly. No way, right? It's amazing.
Now, all of this technology is brilliant, truly. But it begs a critical, deeply human question. Is predicting a drought enough if the most vulnerable populations are entirely left out of the response? AI and satellites can definitely tell us the water is gone, but the harsh truth is that technology alone cannot fix broken human systems.
Section 3. Nature's infrastructure and the justice imperative. Let's look at the human and natural elements.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what happened during Cape Town's devastating Day Zero drought. This was when a major global city came dangerously close to completely running out of water. An incredible fact emerged from that crisis. The severe impacts could have been reduced by up to 16%. How? Not with some massive, expensive new dam, but simply by clearing invasive, non-indigenous trees from the mountain catchments. Nature-based solutions, like restoring local ecosystems, genuinely and quantifiably increase our water supply.
So you might be wondering, if nature-based solutions work so well, why aren't we doing them everywhere? Well, the roadblock isn't technical at all. It's financial. Ecological projects are highly specific to their location, and their benefits are shared by everyone downstream. That just doesn't fit neatly into traditional profit-driven investment models. The real innovation we need right now is diversifying our financial evidence base so we can unlock massive funding for community-level Earth restoration.
We have to acknowledge that drought is fundamentally a justice issue. When water systems fail, they crack along deep historical fault lines of exclusion. Poor women who are tasked with provisioning household water, indigenous peoples, and smallholder farmers, they are consistently hit the absolute hardest. Yet, infuriatingly, they are the very people systematically excluded from the institutions that manage the drought response and distribute the financial aid.
Let's move to and see how this builds into two very different ways to govern land. Historically, you had the fortress conservation model. This displaced indigenous communities to protect nature behind fences, which ironically often resulted in degraded catchments and illegal extraction. Contrast that with indigenous co-governance. This model relies on centuries of customary laws, the protection of sacred sites, and intergenerational practices that successfully kept watersheds alive long before modern engineering ever showed up. A really powerful example of this in action is the Ogiek people in the Mau Forest Complex. Facing forest displacement, which was actually causing the rivers to dry up, they fought back by co-creating a biocultural protocol. This formalized document meticulously records their indigenous knowledge and strengthens their customary governance, giving them a structured, formal way to engage with the state. It's just a brilliant blueprint for dismantling exclusionary models and truly restoring the land.
Section 4. Our new water future. Let's bring this all together.
If there's one single thing you take away from this explainer, let it be this. True resilience is anticipatory, it's integrated, and it has to be governed by those who intimately know the land. Moving from a reactive panic response to a system where we use AI to see the threat, nature to buffer the shock, and inclusive governance to protect the vulnerable, that's no longer just a nice idea. It is a strict operational necessity for our survival on a warming planet.
I'm going to leave you with this final thought. As our atmosphere grows thirstier and those historical baselines fade away forever, the choice is ultimately ours. Will we finally upgrade our systems to actually listen to what the water is telling us? Or will we simply wait for the well to run completely dry? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this sparked your curiosity to look a little closer at how water is governed right in your own community.